Howdy, howdy. My name is Tyler Davis, and you're watching the Legal Roundup podcast. We got Everett Pepper in-house. Today, we're going to be talking to y'all about 3 things a successful person needs. Whether you want to be a filmmaker, whether you want to be a business owner, it doesn't matter. From any standpoint, these 3 people or entities will help you climb the ladder of success. Everett, as far as success is concerned, I'd like to talk a little bit about the role that key professionals can play in maintaining and protecting your success. So, the first thing is going to be a doctor. Having a good doctor strikes me as an obvious, thing. Good health means a good life.
Absolutely.
But what would you say having a good doctor could do for someone, or as far as helping an individual maintain or even get to a successful point?
Well, first of all, if you lose your health, you're not able to be productive. And by productive, I mean stay active, even work sometimes, depending on how bad your health gets.
Yeah.
A good doctor can keep you healthy.
That's
And
right.
it's a lot of the health problems that people have, if they could catch them early on, they could get with their doctor and get them under control before they just get out of hand.
So as far as, that makes sense to me, because if you're not feeling 100%, you can't perform 100%.
That's correct.
And if you're not performing 100%, you can't meet, I know for some people, they can't even meet, the basic goals. I know when my throat starts hurting, I can't, it's hard for me to even really to do anything. I become pretty worthless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, something that's absolutely debilitating type thing. I mean, just some days, it's a long-term thing. It's not something, where you catch a cold and, you need to take a day or 2 off work. That happens to everybody all the time. And the doctor is useful for that too, but more or less, not just, it's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And a good doctor can help you and show you, what type of lifestyle you need, what you need to do to keep your health at a top level. Everybody's different. Some people are just, don't get sick as much. Some people do. But having a good doctor at your side is invaluable. If you're sick, you're not able to work. If you're not able to work, you're not able to make money. If you can't make money, it just spirals down from there. So I'd say that's probably the number one, professional that you need to keep by your side is a really good doctor.
So you would, I guess, most successful people, I would say that, they even, let's say, for example, somebody like Mark Zuckerberg,
Mm-hmm.
He maintains a really clean lifestyle as far as like what he eats,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. What would you say that the importance of preventative care and, having that access to a trusted health professional, can help bring to someone who is a successful person already?
Well, I look at it like if you go to the extremely rich, wealthy people, they have access to pretty much, any kind of treatment that they might want. But for, regular people that's looking to, maintain their level and work their way up the ladder, you'll come across doctors. It may be somebody that you go to church with. It may be somebody that you just, walk into a regular treatment, a little medical clinic somewhere. You don't have to be rich to have access to good doctors. There's a lot of good doctors. We have a lot of good doctors here in Mississippi. We have some good hospitals, and you're going to be in and out eventually. Sometimes you're going to get sick enough that you have to go to the doctor or the hospital. We do car wrecks, and so we deal with doctors all the time. And you see, as many as we deal with, we see more of them, and you sort of, figure out which ones, have good bedside manner, that really genuinely care about their patients. That's critical. And if you sometimes you develop relationships with these people, and I think that's important. I think people should try to, be absolutely honest with their doctors, or if, especially their general practitioner or their family doctor, if you want to call it that. That's somebody that's probably going to end up friends with. And, keeping this person in the loop with your health conditions gives them the opportunity to head off any future problems. And that's what I was referring to earlier as the more long-term preventative stuff. You know.
That's, that was what I was just about to ask you was how, when you're looking for that, like a specific, a good doctor. I know that you might, like you said, you might pop into like a, your local trust care or your family clinic, and you could get in there and, I've been to plenty of family clinics. I've went in and, I've had doctors that have absolutely just it's like they have a complete lack of care.
Well, I think sometimes it's, these doctors and the entire medical field is obviously expensive.
Absolutely.
And these medical providers, they have spent a ton of money, going to medical school, getting their training. So I guess to loop back around, sometimes I think, especially if they're in a corporate setting, the bigger hospitals, that kind of thing, I think they sort of feel pressured to, get them in, get them out kind of thing. And I think that ties in a lot with what people sort of expect. They want in and they want out. But at the same time, you don't want to compromise the level of treatment you get.
That's right.
So it's a speed versus quality kind of thing. So I think the doctors that lean always more towards the quality side and a little less towards the speed side is one good indicator that you found a good doctor.
Okay. That's something I've always, I guess that's kind of a simple thing to overlook, because, a lot of people, just like as far as, law is concerned, they expect that, well, they want to get in, they want to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you expect a quick turnaround every time for everything, you're going to lose some quality there. And if you lose that quality of care, obviously, I guess that's what would separate the good from the bad doctors.
Well, that's one indicator.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you've heard it before, though, cliche. It's education, experience, and training.
That's right.
So that's what it comes down to. But there's also a personal side to it. If a doctor has a good bedside manner, that's pretty obvious to people.
Yeah.
And usually when they're in that situation, they feel invulnerable, they're hurt, in that situation. And it's really nice to have somebody that's there to help you, that genuinely cares and wants you to get better.
That always feels like it feels better when you have a doctor that cares about you.
Absolutely.
Because you can tell. I will. Maybe some people can't, but I can always tell a difference when I go to a doctor that cares versus a doctor that doesn't. Because I've been to multiple clinics. Just like when I was sick about a month ago, I went to a clinic. I won't mention the brand, but I went over, and they're both on Spillway, right across the street from one another. Went to one, got some medication, went home the next day, and literally just, I was like, okay, well, everything's good, it seems all right. And then literally a day later, sicker than a dog, and went back to the other doctor, and she was like, oh, no. And they ran a throat culture on me and everything, and found out it was much worse than what they thought across the street.
Right.
So it just goes to show you, that girl was trying to get me out quick. But whenever I went to the other doctor across the street, they, took their time with me. They ran my blood, did chest scans, everything. So that, just goes to show you, it just depends. If somebody cares, that's, I feel like what matters the most with a doctor is if they're just doing it for the money. It's kind of one of those things where I've met a lot of doctors and maybe at a point in time they cared, but after so long, I feel like maybe they're just burnt out or something. But
you bring up a good point on that too. Like I said, it's education and experience, and their training. The experience is a big thing.
Absolutely.
It really is. But a lot of people discount younger doctors too. And I would say, it's very similar to the legal field in the way the training works. It's probably more rigorous in the medical field. There's not really an internship type situation in legal. But for the doctors, a young doctor and a young lawyer, at the time they come out of law school or med school, they probably have more knowledge crammed in their head at that particular time than at any time in their career. But now how to use that knowledge comes with the experience and the training that they've already received. Now they're applying it to, as an experience as they're dealing with patients, and they see new things come up, just like we do here at the law firm. Sometimes you just get cases that come in and you're like, oh, I've never heard of anything like this before. There's just strange, odd things, and in the medical field, the doctors have to be able to pick up on that. Now it's getting a lot better, with like with the tools they have, the research tools.
Sure.
You see a lot of doctors now carrying around the iPads, they're typing in the symptoms and it's giving them a list of, hey, this is the things it could be. but it takes a human touch to, it's not all AI. It's getting a lot stronger, but it's still a hands-on, personal type of relationship you build. And another thing I think it's important for people to look at when they find a good doctor, stick with them.
That's right.
And one of the things I see a whole lot here lately, it's not like back in the old days when they had, the doctor would come to your house. Them days are long gone. Unless you're super rich.
Yeah.
But so now it's more of a corporate feel to it. So you go in there. But when I first moved down here from North Mississippi, I started with a doctor up in Madison, and he went from one clinic and switched to another clinic. Well, I followed him over there. Then he, a couple years later, he moved to another clinic. Well, I followed him over there, and over time, you get to know these people, personally.
You build up a rapport with them.
Absolutely,
for sure.
yeah.
And that's the person you want to go to, because they always seem to know you better than, if you were to just go to the clinic in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As my wife, she's been going to the same doctor for God knows how long, but I don't know what happened, but at some point in time, she was dealing with diabetes. Or being pre-diabetic. And the doctor just wouldn't test her for it. And I was like, you're just going to have to go in there and ask her. Because I asked her the qualifying questions, and she answered all of them, yeah. And I was like, well, you're pre-diabetic. You need to go. And she went and checked, and after that, she said, oh, I might actually think about switching my family doctor. But, it happens, with some people, because her mom will go, and she treats her totally different.
Yeah, well, another thing, and this is, I guess, any professional setting like that, man, it's a lot of paperwork to fill out to change doctors too. That's miserable to have to go in there and sit there, 20 minutes filling out everything, that your other doctor already has on file.
Exactly.
But and even then, when the only reason I left the doctor I had was, he took a job out of state, so I was like, crap, man, I got to start over again, and find another doctor. And fortunately, before he left, he said, "Hey, here's some guys I recommend." And sure enough, it worked out good. And another thing about the doctor part of it, and I know I don't want to stay on this particular topic too long, but another thing I see about the doctors is how specialized the medical field is getting now. You got different doctors for every type of illness or situation that can come up.
They got specialties for everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nuts. It's almost. I wouldn't say it maybe is as diversified as the law field. Maybe it might be less. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not an expert on it. But it seems like they got people for your they call them the fat doctor is what my mom called them. Mm-hmm. But they're really just sports medicine. Mm-hmm. Well, within sports medicine, you got hair restoration, and you got all kind of specialties.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yes, it's become highly specialized, which I'm not necessarily against that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to identify who's the best. And you can look on Google and look at the ratings and all that, or what is it, WebMD or whatever the one is. There's several of them out there, and they rate the doctors. But that's subjective too. So you could. I say that's why I said earlier. There's several factors in it, but it really comes down, I think, to you or. Not you personally, but just the person and their doctor and what kind of rapport they build with each other, and the treatments you get, and was that treatment successful or not? Because obviously if the doctor's not doing you a good job, you need to follow up, with a different doctor, or at least get a second opinion on it, because there's nothing wrong with that either.
Absolutely.
And because I assure you, the doctors have plenty more people to treat. If you go on down the road, they're not going to be mad about it.
Oh, there's always a doctor in need. Mm-hmm. That's what they always say. There's always a need for people in the medical field.
No, absolutely.
People get in and they get out, and like you said, with everything getting so specialized nowadays, you kind of got to have a good doctor in your back pocket that can refer you, because you can't just go to any doctor on a whim. I had some issues with my ears probably 2 or 3 years ago, and they had to send me to 3 or 4 different specialists, and lo and behold, if I wouldn't have went to my doctor at my local clinic, I would have never been able to get those connections.
That's right. Yeah.
I think we kind of understand as far as why you need a doctor like that in your back pocket. Especially if you are successful, and let's say you're not quite a millionaire or anything like that, and you get up there and you're getting up there in age, you kind of need that support, more than ever, the older you get. And that is kind of goes into maintaining and protecting what you already have.
That's right. And I don't think even if you're not already successful, I think, that's one of the keys that helps you get to that point. And then once you get to that point, then it's maintaining, or moving upward, climbing the ladder at that point. So I think even people, whatever level of income they're at, that's one thing they should always seek for is a good doctor.
As far as, other things that people can do and when trying to be successful, or if they are successful, why would you say that, they would need a good lawyer? We understand why somebody, obviously your physical and even your mental health are just as important, especially nowadays, probably more important than ever because there's so much mental stigma going around on the world. There's so much depression and anxiety, but on the legal side of things, I feel like there's a lot of legal matters that can impact every corner of your success, even before you're successful, but more especially once you break out into your profession or your career, you need things in place to help you protect your assets. So can you tell me why, if you get into those situations, what would having a good lawyer in your back pocket, help someone?
Well, it could be the legal field is just as diverse, if not more, than the medical field. It could be something as simple as, a divorce attorney. You're in a real bind at that time, and you need some professional advice, to protect what you got, or help you protect what you got, or get what you're entitled to, depending on which side of it you're on. It could be other stuff like, say, I know you like to play music.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's say you want a song, you want to protect your copyright on it, or say you got an attorney out here that's working in the corporate world, and they're reviewing contracts. These contracts could be $1 million, one little mistake, and so what the people, like business people, what they try to do is they're businessmen. They're not attorneys. They know how to run a business, but the legal side of it, you're better off hiring a professional to do it. You can try to do it yourself, but it's a lot more expensive to fix it on the end than it would have been done it right the first time. And that's where lawyers comes in. So that's why they technically call, our technical term is lawyer or attorney and counselor at law. And I'm using the word lawyer and attorney interchangeably. They're really not, but for most, what we're going to talk about, they are. But so it's really attorney and counselor at law. Well, the counselor side is sometimes just giving good legal advice to business owners and people that are, whether you're starting a new business or whether you're running, a $100 million firm. There's entire law firms that do mergers and acquisitions that help businesses grow. The CEO, they don't want to fool with that, number one. Number two, they probably don't know how. And if they do know how, they're still better off spending their time doing what they're good at over here and paying the lawyers to do what they do over here on the legal side. So it could be all over the place why you need one. But there's going to be, it could be something that's, like I said, as simple as from child custody to a DUI. Anytime that you're especially if you're dealing with the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
If your liberty, and I mean freedom, is at stake, if you're fixing to have a chance of getting, jail time, you're wise to get an attorney because, you just never know. And there's terms that, just like the medical field, there's terms that attorneys use that are not common words that you hear out in every day.
That's right.
So I've been in court and had, we're communicating with the defense attorney and the judge, and my client doesn't have a clue what's going on. Well, if they didn't have an attorney there, they still wouldn't have a clue what's going on, and they would have suffered for it.
That's right.
So it's the same way with the medical field. Hiring your attorney is money well spent. With that said, all attorneys are not created equal either. Just like doctors. In Mississippi, attorneys are not allowed to market as a specialist, but you still have attorneys that focus on, like what I do is car wrecks, 18-wheeler accidents, that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Motor accidents, motorcycles, that kind of stuff. So when I deal with people, if you need a child custody lawyer, I'm not your guy. But I can tell you the other lawyers I know that do that, and I can refer you to them because I want you to have the best. But also, a lot of times this is former clients, it's people that I've represented before, and when they come back to me, I don't do general practice law.
Yeah.
I know how, but that's not what I focus on. And the law changes so rapidly. It sort of is moving more in that direction too with the legal field. It's a lot of law to keep up with, and it changes, every year.
It's a lot for one person to keep up with.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like you said, you're not allowed to really market yourself as a specific, which in my opinion has always been crazy to me ever since I've been working here. I was like, well, that's crazy because there's people out here in other fields that get to specialize, like on the doctor side of things. You can be a foot doctor, you could be a sports medicine doctor,
Right.
you could be a chiropractor. Even though I know that some people say in the medical industry that chiropractors are made fun of because they didn't take as much school.
Yeah. Well, it's good. The legal field is not quite as structured. I mean, you have, obviously your lawyers and your paralegals. Well, para in Latin means beside. So this paralegal is beside the lawyer or attorney. So that's what that term means.
Okay.
So that's equivalent to a nurse assisting a doctor. Now after any further than that, it sort of gets, scattered out to the wind. But but there's a lot of similarities. But that's something that people look at. It's important that attorney have enough support staff that the attorney can focus on actually, doing the heavy lifting and the day-to-day, stuff. To have a really good paralegal there to help. At any event, whatever type of law you're practicing.
That I feel like that's, whenever people don't have somebody like that, regardless of their industry, that kind of brings me to my next piece here is an accountant. I know paralegals aren't exactly an accountant necessarily, but an accountant is kind of, in a sense, for, let's say, for somebody that's in the film industry that makes films, they can't handle all that on their own. Now, when they start out, yeah, sure. But even for somebody like me who's starting out, who's trying to break out into the market and kind of do some films and stuff, the only accountant I have is my wife. And that's because she handles the bills, and I don't. It's too much paperwork for me. I handle all the back end stuff and all the heavy lifting. I bring the bread and I fix her car and do all that stuff. So what is the critical role, would you say, of an accountant for someone that is trying to be successful, or somebody that is successful?
Well, I mean, you have to keep up with your money.
That's right.
That's the main thing. Depending on, like if you got Bob out here and he's a licensed plumber, he's trained to do plumbing work. He's not trained to do bookkeeping, Now he's going to try right at first, because he might can afford it. And like you said, it's usually going to be his wife or, one of his good friends, or something like that, until he can get enough, resources to, hire a professional accountant. Or a bookkeeper, so that, and that has levels too, so there's bookkeepers, there's accountants, and there's CPAs, and then, so number one is you have to track what you spend, and then, see how much you got coming in, and you got to keep them numbers in balance, and if you don't, next thing you know, you're out there, buying extra tools or whatever you might need to do the work, and you look down at your bank account, and you're like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, and they also can help you set a budget. That's very, very important. You need to track your money. And the second biggest thing I see about having a way to track your money is your taxes. I mean, you can get real trouble real fast. If in a good accountant or a good bookkeeper, CPA, all wouldn't hurt. Some of these are all one thing. Some of them are all of this. And it goes from a little one guy over here doing it in his office to you can hire an entire accounting firm. Some businesses are big enough, they have an entire firm that works for them. And they may have, Coca-Cola may have one accounting firm. That's all they do. That's their one customer. Where, Susie over here has got her accounting shop set up. She might have 20, 30 clients in that area. You know, so there's different sizes, and but you see people start getting real concerned and looking for that when they start having money coming in.
Yeah.
And start getting a little bit more successful, a little bit more successful. Well, the accountant is what helps you measure that. You know, so if you can, you know, to me that's a critical thing, and it's something that's probably overlooked the most out of them three professions that we're talking about right now.
So I guess that what would constitute it is essentially the success itself. Because once you get to a certain point, it starts increasing, and then it kind of gets overwhelming. Because at a point, if you got a lot to deal with.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of time to keep up with the books.
That's right.
And you know, so if you spend, you know, all day or 2 days sitting at the kitchen table doing bookkeeping and accounting, then, you know, that's 2 days you're not out there making money working in your whatever, you know, job that you have.
Yeah, that's time lost, money lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
you're better off paying them to do it. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, it just financially doesn't make sense after you get to a certain size.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said right at first, when you first starting a new business or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, or even doing a household budget. You know, it's easier, you know, to do it as you go instead of letting it pile up to the end of the year, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, now I got to spend a whole week doing nothing but all this, and that's a whole week I ain't out working. I got all these jobs lined up, and you know, or with us, you know, we got clients and they got cases and we got deadlines running. You know, you just can't wait to the last minute to do it. It's better off to do it. It uses a steady flow.
And I know a lot of guys in certain industries like automotive industries and construction industry especially. Funny enough, real life circumstance for me, my father-in-law, he's got a construction company, and he doesn't have an accountant right now because his accountant is his girlfriend, which is but it's a weird complicated situation. But essentially, my wife's mother, or his pseudo wife, as I would like to call it, she is his accountant, but she's in the hospital. So he has no accountant. So he doesn't even have somebody to log anything for when he gets a new client if he needs to. You know, he can handwrite some stuff, but he's also got Parkinson's. So he can't really write.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense why once you get to a point, even at a certain point, like I was saying, I mean, I can't, sometimes we got HBO Max and Hulu and Netflix and God knows how many bills. I can't keep up with it sometimes.
Right.
But
you've also got a full-time job doing other stuff.
That's right.
You know, so that's not your job, you know. So that's what I tell people a lot. Hey, you focus on your job, and sometimes, you know, let the professionals do it. You know, now obviously not starting out, you can't afford that, but you know, 'cause neither one of these three professions are cheap. You know,
That's true.
But now you don't want cheap either. You know, then like I tell people, excuse me, like I tell people, you know, when you're going to, you know, if you're going to get LASIK surgery on your eyes, I guarantee you're not looking for cheap.
Oh, absolutely.
You're looking for quality.
Absolutely
you know?
not.
I had that about, I guess, gosh, I have no idea how long ago, maybe 25 years ago, and that was, you know, the internet wasn't where you could just research like you can now. I'm telling you, I spent a good long time, and you know, I want to make sure I got the right doctor. You know.
Well, you don't want just anybody cutting on your eyeball, you know what I mean?
No, and you don't want anybody doing your taxes either. And you don't want just any, you know, you don't want anybody, you don't have any legal matter neither. Because, you know, a lot of them things are, you know, one mistake and it's critical, you know, and them are three of them right there. So, yeah, I tell everybody, you know, it's like, you know, that's three things everybody needs, no matter what your income level is. You know, if you want to be successful, look for them three things if you ain't got them yet. If you got them, great. Even if you only had one of them, you're doing better than most people. You know, and people just overlook that. You get so busy with life, it's just things come at you all the time. You know, you think, okay, well, next week's gonna be easier. The next thing you know, you're working twice as hard.
And you're buried.
Swamped, yeah. You know, and but always keep in the back of your mind, you know, these three things. And I think if you can get these three things, and these things are moving pieces. Yeah. You know, they can change people, you know, and you might come across somebody that's better than who you have, you know. Well, that's not anything personal. That's just a business decision. You know, it's your money. You know, you got to protect it. It's your health. You got to protect it. You know, it's your well-being in general. So, then you know, a good doctor, lawyer, and an accountant is three things I think are critical. Now, there's obviously more than that, but I think if you just could get them three locked down, you would be in good shape and well on your way to position yourself where you can grow and succeed in life.
So you say that as far as like getting all three of those in tandem, I guess in a sort of things, your doctor should probably be one of the first things you should acquire.
Situationally, yes.
Situationally,
On a flat playing field, yes, I would start with the doctor.
and then as I would even say, from my angle, I would think obviously like a doctor, you probably already know one. By the time you're kind of getting about, because like you said, it's kind of situational. But with a lawyer being in your back pocket, I feel like, from the get-go, if you're getting into a business of any kind, whether you're on the small end or you're on the bigger end, you should have a lawyer in your back pocket. And it doesn't matter if, like you said, that if they don't specialize, or if they do specialize in something, they can refer you to something else, because we do it all the time.
Yeah.
And then of course the accountant, if you can find you a good accountant, of course, like you said, it's not cheap, but having that accountant can help you keep everything in line and help you keep your doctor's appointments in line, so you can maintain your health and
pay your doctor and your lawyer.
That's right. That's right. Because if you're not paying the doctor and the lawyer, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Right.
So.
But I think if you can, that's like the trifecta, if you can get all three of them, and I think people should steadily search for that. And like I said, it's moving parts. Like, if you get, I'm going to stick to the criminal side. It's not really what we do here, but if you, if you catch a felony charge, you're not really concerned about, an earache at that particular time.
Yeah.
You're looking at 10 years in jail. Now your lawyer's going to move to the top of the list.
That's right.
So it's a movable chart, but or not static. I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
But on a perfectly level field, like, if I had to pick an order, I would say doctor, lawyer, and then accountant in that order.
So as far as your own personal experience, how would you say that, like, having a good doctor and a good accountant has helped you over the years get to where you're at?
Absolutely critical.
Absolutely
Critical. Yep. And I went through exact steps we've talked about today. As when I grew up in a very rural, country, let's say rural area, and that's being mild. And with absolutely zero money, you better learn real quickly how to work, or you're not much use.
That's
right. And you have to learn how to save your money, and then when you get a little money, you have to learn how to reapportion it. And then once you get to a certain size, then you start, okay, well, now I can't just have the money sitting there idle like this, because it's just sitting there depreciating. So then you come back to your accountant. So in that situation, that might be the first thing you come to when you're doing a manual labor or even a blue collar type job like that. It may be a situation where you need a financial advisor that may take the piece of the accountant. Or them two can work together. You may have both. I have both. So
okay.
But I didn't then. Because I started with literally nothing. So as time has went on, I've tried to build and focus on these three things and make them better and better and better, and it's made me better and better and better. Because I, like anybody else, I have health problems, I have financial problems. everybody does. Right. But what my job is to do is to keep focusing and keep trying to do better and find these people that can help me do that. Because I hate taxes, can't stand it.
I'm not a fan of it.
And I don't know anybody that likes taxes.
I don't know anybody.
What I'm saying is I hate
it.
tax law. And so if somebody comes in with a tax law question, I'm gonna find the best tax lawyer I can, and I'm gonna send them straight to them. I was like, I don't even want to look at it. It makes my head hurt to think about it.
That's exactly why you gotta that's the whole point of this podcast right here is to encourage others to surround themselves with trusted individuals.
Absolutely.
And build a network of people, because you never know. Like in that instance, you might have a lawyer that served your car wreck.
Yeah.
And then let's say that you did well for that person, or that lawyer did well for you, but you needed to go and ask him about a tax question.
Yeah.
And then you can send that lawyer may not be able to help you with it specifically, but they can send you to somebody that they know that they trust.
Absolutely, yeah. Some of my classmates went into tax law. Bless their heart. I don't know how they do it, but that's what they like. And they're darn good at it. And I trust them. I went to school for years with these guys, and and they like it and they're good at it and they can prove it, and that's something else to look for is your track record too. I tell people that come to me all the time, a lot of mostly friends,
Yeah.
and they'll come and they'll have a legal question. I was like, look, I don't want to tell you wrong. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. I have no problem with that. Some people want to, look at like, oh, doctors know every medical issue there is, lawyers know every legal question there is. That's just not true, and I'll have no problem saying, look, let me send you to somebody that knows more because I don't want to tell you wrong, and I think that's another key thing to look for too when you're looking for these people. If they got all the answers, they're lying.
They're
I'm telling
probably
you, they're
reading out a
lying.
book before they
No.
met you. Well, that's like you said earlier. It's hard that's why there's specializations. Even if you can't market yourself as a specialized field, in the sense of being a lawyer, you can't. Honestly, I don't know how y'all do it in general, just for one thing, because it's a lot of information y'all got. I mean, we just recorded a podcast not long ago where Sean was able to spout off the entire element chart for what you need when you go to a trial, and all y'all have to know that. But in the when you get into the intricacies of things, you can't know everything.
No,
I mean,
it's
you
too
can
much.
try,
Yeah.
but I imagine it's just it
It
gets
is.
too much.
Well, you've seen the code section out there in the conference room.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's
Yeah.
it's a lot.
And it's like
And-
he was telling me, there's certain pieces of law like copyright law and things
Yeah.
like that that are electives at law school. It's
Yep.
not a requirement.
Yep.
So there's people that do specialize in that thing, even though they may not be able to market themselves as such.
Yes, and
but
I'll tell you something else that's interesting. Like I'm licensed in multiple states, and each state's different. So
That's
it's
right.
not just learning, Mississippi law. I'm licensed in Alabama also. So I have to learn Alabama law, and I have to keep up. And like I said, they both change. So maybe Mississippi and Alabama have two different elements. It's like Sean said earlier. It could be a little bit different. Alabama, usually pretty similar. Usually very similar, but there's these little nuanced things, and that's the ones that'll trip you up. And so when you take on a new client or a new case, you need to go back and make sure, what we were taught in law school is still how it is, because it does change.
That's
And
right.
I have literally seen that over my experience time practicing. As it graduated, Supreme Court comes in and they said, nope, we changed our mind. Well, there that went,
So that's nuts. And I guess that's why they call it a practice, is you have to consistently stay up with it.
Yeah, and we have to take, continued legal education every year. And if you're licensed in multiple states, you have to take it in both states. Now you get to pick and choose what you want to take, and there's plenty of them to choose from. But so you can sort of try to, hone in on what you feel like you're lacking in.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I tell people all the time, you get in a car wreck or something like that, I'm your guy. You need a divorce, you'd be better suited to get somebody else. Because there's no reason for them to pay me to sit there for hours, to sit there and have to relearn stuff and go back and make sure what I was taught in law school is still accurate. It's like, I'm not gonna say the name of the factors off to you, but they're a moving target.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And even not so much that every judge is different. You go with, and I'm talking procedural wise here, not necessarily the law, but you go into one court, the judge wants you to file a scheduling order. You go to the other court, the judge wants you to set a hearing on it. The other one just send it and I'll look over it, and if it's good, I sign it. So it could change from county to county, changes from state to state, it changes from state court to federal court. They're, like I said, they're very similar, but there's differences, and you got to know what they are, and you got to stay on top of it. And if you don't, you're doing your client a disservice.
Jesus, that just gets it gets so. See, that's what I'm talking about. It gets even just that much for me is information overload.
Well, like I said, if you have a job, whatever your skill set is, focus on that. Make the money. Even after you pay your legal fees, you're gonna come out ahead. Hopefully you should.
That's right.
But that's the thing I tell people all the time. It's so much easier to do it right the first time than it is to go back and have to fix it. And way cheaper too. Way cheaper.
That's right. That's right. And in the long run, you come out better. And time is money. At the end of the day, time is money. Money is time.
Yep.
And the more money you spend, obviously the less money you have, and the more time you spend, the less money you can make.
Well, I tell people, like, we have car wreck clients come in, and they're stressed out, they're hurt, probably never been in that situation before, and and they're basically scared. And I tell them all the time, I was like, look, you worry about getting well. You get your treatment. You worry about focusing on getting your health back. You let me handle all this. I'm gonna take this off of you, and you would not believe how much relief they get off that, because they're not, when they come in, they're worried about all the legal ramifications and the health issues, and if they can focus on just one, let me handle this other one for them. I mean, that's what I'm paid to do. And that takes so much stress off of them.
I feel like for a lot of people, if it was me in that situation, I feel like the main thing is like not having a car or not being able to get to your day to day is just hard enough. Having to figure out how to navigate that. So I'm sure somebody hearing that, is a major relief, because they can focus on getting better and trying to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to navigate life now? I'm sitting in the bed, I got 2 broke legs, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And in the meantime, if they're trying to handle all the legal ramifications, they could put it on someone else.
That's right.
And in short, if it's not something that you should be handling, you can't handle it all by yourself. It's better to get help, especially somebody that knows what they're doing. And at the end of the day, the main thing is that having a trusted network of individuals is going to help anyone build, maintain, or protect their success.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being on the show with me today, Pepper. I'm glad to have you on. Again, my name is Tyler Davis. I'm the host of Legal Roundup, and today our guest speaker is Everett Pepper. We're able to talk to you a little bit about some key players in your life that can help you achieve your success, maintain your success, and protect your success. But as a shameless plug, here at Pepper and Odom, we offer legal services to victims of injury cases. So in an instance of, let's say you're in a car wreck, or you're in a commercial vehicle accident, or a vehicle accident of any kind, whether you're on a motorcycle, in a boat, if you slip and fall, if it's injury and negligence caused it, give us a call at 601-202-1111. That's 601-202-1111. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. I enjoyed it.